So maybe a bit of introduction. So my name is Virginie Amtio, and I'm bioengineer by background, but I have done all my career in the pharmaceutical industry in different positions, in sales, in quality control, in medical affairs, and several years in clinical research. So I'm happy to share that expertise with you today. I'm now working at ECCRT, where I'm a senior trainer and business coach, helping people to develop their career in clinical research. So maybe a word about ECCRT. So ECCRT is a training center, and our goal is really to develop professionals in clinical research and in regulatory affairs, ultimately for the benefit of all patients. We do have different format of the training we deliver. We have open courses, so we have a catalog of courses where you can go on the catalog and register individually to any course you would like to attend. We do have also micro learning, which are really learning, short session on a dedicated topic. We do also organize tailor-made course. So when we have the request for company to have a specific course, we developed it. And we have also what we call our smart solution, which is a group of modules on one given topic. And we have one module on clinical research that I will present you at the end of this session. Before going more into detail, I would like also to know a bit about you. So I will launch a question and you will see the question appearing on your screen. And I would like you to answer. So I would like you to tell me if you are still studying and will finish in September 22, or if you're still studying but will finish not before 23, or if you have already your master, or if you have already your PhD, or if you have already a job and you're working but you would like to reorient your career. And so I see on the screen that we have 5 answers, so maybe I'll give you a bit more time to reply. So that's it's important for me also to know who is in the audience so that I can also adapt the level of information and detail I give depending on your background and what you are doing. So I see for the moment we have, let's say, 40% of people who are studying and will finish by September 22. We have 3 big categories. We have also people who have already obtained their master, and we have more than 40% of people who have a job but would like to reorient. So either you have a job and would like to reorient to clinical research, either you already have your master or are about to finish in September 22 for the majority of you. That's good, so that I know and I have that information. So what we're gonna cover? We're gonna cover, I'll explain you the different jobs that exist in clinical research, but before to do that, I will give you the overview of what is the drug development, so that you have a flow of what is the drug development, and then I will explain you which type of job you have at which moment. And then after will be some advice on how you can orient your career search to those jobs and what is important for you to know. So in terms of drug development, this slide really summarizes the overall process to develop a drug. So everything starts by the research. So you have research most of the time in R&D departments or research and development in big pharmaceutical company, or also sometimes also in biotech. And in research, what you have scientists, so you have people with PhD, or you have people working the lab who try to discover new molecule. That's really what we call the drug research in research and development. And they can test thousands of compounds. They can test thousands of molecules before to have one that can proceed to become a drug. Once they have molecule that they consider can be developed to become a drug, then the molecule enter in what we call preclinical. So that's the next phase after the research and the drug research. Preclinical, it's when you have a potential molecule and you will start to test your molecule in laboratory on cells, cell culture, or also on animal, because some of the molecule have to be tested on animal, and there we look mainly at the toxicity. Because before to go and administer a drug in human, you want to test and you want to evaluate the toxicity of your molecule. So those are the preclinical activity. In preclinical, again, you have several people working in laboratory who have PhD, usually in life science, or a research background, research profile, and also laboratory technician. When you have to test on animal, you have also all type of job for the well-being and the care of the animal. Once the product has successfully passed the preclinical tests, then the product will enter in clinical research phase, which is the topic of today. The clinical research, it's really once you start to test your potential product on human subjects. And there is a flow of the different activity. First, you will test your product on a small number of subjects, and those will be healthy people. And what you look at that time, it's really you want to evaluate really the safety of your product, because you want to evaluate the safety of your product before to administer it to more people. So you test first your product on a small number of healthy people. And it's like 10, 20, less for sure, less than 100. It's only designs of healthy people. Once that first phase is successful, you will enter in phase 2. Phase 2, clinical research. It's clinical research where you will start to test your product on patient. So if you are developing a drug for pulmonary disease, then you will start to select people patient having that pulmonary disease, and you will administer that drug to those patients to see if the drug has an effect, can treat or prevent the disease. That's the phase 2, where you will enroll a bigger number of patients suffering from the disease for which your drug is targeted. And you have between 100 and 500 patients. And what you look at there, it's really the safety of your product. You always look at the safety, whatever the phase, but you will also start to reflect about the dose, which dose of the product you give. After, the next phase is a phase 3. Phase 3 is really large clinical trial where you have thousands of patients, can run from 1,000, go to 10,000 and even 60,000 sometime, where the objective is really to show the efficacy of your product. So to show the efficacy, you need to have patients from the population you are targeting, and you need to have a huge number of patients really to show with statistical analysis if the efficacy of your product. You also look at the safety always, and you also monitor the adverse events, so all the reaction that could happen after the administration of the drug. Once all the clinical trial and all the clinical research are completed for a given product, then all the data are compiled into a dossier, and that dossier will be submitted to the authority, which is the next step, the evaluation and approval. And the company will ask the authority to have the authorization to put the product on the market. Those activities are more done in regulatory affairs. I will come to that in a moment. All the clinical activity are done under clinical research, and in the next slide, I will detail the job you have there. Once your product is on the market, the next step will be to continuously to follow your product once it's on the market and once it's administered in the real population in the real life. And that's what is called phase 4, or also sometimes post-marketing surveillance study, where you continue to monitor the product when it's used in day-to-day. So you see that out of 10,000 compounds that are tested in a lab, only sometimes one will go to marketing authorization. And that process is quite long. It takes 10 to 12 years, sometimes even more for specific product or molecule, or sometimes less. All those activity, the research, the preclinical, the research and development, the preclinical, the clinical are under R&D department most of the time. I will come back to that right after. But the other department where you have key activity in drug development is regulatory affairs. So the Department of Regulatory Affairs is really the connection between the company developing the drug and the authority. And the role in regulatory affairs is really to build the dossier to have the authorization to market the product. So function in regulatory affairs are typically people with a master in life science with or without PhD. You have also sometimes people with PhD. People who are fluent in English because all the documentation in regulatory will be in English. People who are able to write, were able to write technical dossier, were able also to write summary uh, dossier to submit the application to the authority. You have global regulatory activities at the headquarter in pharmaceutical company, but you have also local affiliated regulatory activities in each country where the drug is marketed. And those people make the link locally between the local authority and the company. And then they have the same skills. They speak English, but they speak also the local language. And those people will be responsible for all the labeling, for example, all the design of the label which is on the product. You have also other department. You have the number 3, the market access, and you have also several type of job in market access. Market access is really all the analysis of the what is called health economic, so all the economic around the drug. So if you introduce a new drug on the market, what will be the effect on the population? What will be the effect on the health system? What will be the economical effect of some disease that you can prevent or treat thanks to the drug? So what will be the impact on the overall country economy and health economy? So that's market access. They do also a lot of prediction and mathematic model because they also look at all data to predict the impact of the product when you put it on the market. They also are involved in the definition of the price of the product and in discussion with the government on whether the product is reimbursed or not. And they continue to collect data once the product is used in real life. That's what is called real world evidence. In those departments, you have a lot of epidemiologists. You have a lot of people who have studied public health. You have also people with mathematical background because there is a lot of mathematic modeling to try to model and do simulation of if you introduce a drug on the market, what will be the impact on the overall health system. So the type of profile in market access is epidemiologic, public health degree, mathematics, statistician, modeler, all that is in that type of department. You have also, once the drug is on the market, job in marketing and in sales. So the drug is on your market, you then have to do the promotion. So you will promote your drug to the people who will prescribe. This is typically job in sales, in marketing. They have also usually scientific background, but they have also some skills, some sales skills, communication skills, so they are able to sell a product. But you do also have people and function who are called medical scientific liaison, where the goal of those functions, it's not to sell the product, but it's to inform the scientific community about the product, about the data, about the effect. So there are jobs also that go and inform the medical community and the scientific community on the new product, but not to do the sale, but really to inform them about the science. So you have also there different type of job in marketing to do the sales or as medical scientific liaison to explain the science behind your product. And now I will go more into detail on the different job in clinical research. So I have explained you the different phase of the clinical research, and each phase there will be several clinical study. And one clinical study always follow the same flow, which is the number 1 to 9. So once you want to do a clinical research, and it's one clinical study, first you have to define your objective. What do you want to show? Then that objective will have to be translated into a study design. It means which population will you have, how many subject or patient when you enroll, how many dose will you give, at which interval, what do you need to follow. So all that is the study design, and that needs to be translated into a document, an official document, which is the protocol, the study protocol. Once you have your study protocol, once the company has a study protocol, before to start a clinical trial, the protocol will be submitted to the health authority, but also to the ethics committee to have the approval. And so all companies need to have the approval of the competent authority and an ethics committee before to start any clinical trial. Once they have the approval, which is the number 4, they can start the trial, which is the number 5. And the trial they will start to recruit study participants. And then those study participants will be enrolled in the study. They will receive explanation about the clinical trial. They will give their consent, and they will start to participate to the clinical trial. Out of the clinical trial, a lot of data will be collected. Those data will be collected, will be analyzed, and then there will be a report written with all the results of the clinical trial. And at the end, the objective is really to compare the result versus the objective to see if the result of the clinical study meet the objective. So that's the flow of a clinical study. All the function name you see on the left and right are potential job and the different job you have in a clinical study or in clinical research. And those in green are job accessible more to junior profile. So first, I will explain them one by one. First, study physician. There is always a medical doctor accountable for a clinical trial. So there is a role of study physician. So it's typically people who have a medical degree, but who would like to work in pharmaceutical company and do research. So those are the study physician. To write all the document, you have also a function called medical writer or scientific writer. Typically there, it's people who have a PhD and who are fluent in English and they can really write in English. And so their skills is to develop all the documentation. So they discuss with the medical doctor, they discuss with the statistician, and they will write the study protocol. They will also write the study report. They will write in from consent. So those are typically profiled with scientific background, most of the time PhD because they are used to write, fluent in English, and who like to write and develop documentation. Then another type of role, and I would say maybe in operation, one of the most important role in clinical research in terms of clinical operation, it's the role of CRA, Clinical Research Associate. The CRA is really an operational function that will coordinate all the activities that happen in a clinical study. So the role of the CRA is really to translate the protocol in something that can be implemented operationally. So usually the CRA, they have a scientific background, but not necessarily PhD, but they can be as well. But usually they have a master in life science and they really like organization. They really like to coordinate activity. They are detailed oriented. They are well organized. They can respect timing. They can interact with a lot of people. So that's really one of the key roles in clinical research, CRA. And you will see that most of the time people who want to do a career in clinical research, they start by doing the role of a CRA and then they can evolve to other roles. Because there is a lot of administration and documentation in clinical research, there is another type of job which is called CTA, Clinical Trial Assistant, sometimes Clinical Trial Associate or Clinical Trial Coordinator. It depends. The point is that you will have sometimes, depending on company, different names. But the essence of the clinical trial assistant, it's really to manage all the documentation related to the clinical study. Because you have a lot of documentation, you have the protocol, you have the consent you want to give to the patient, you have the description of the product, and you need to document all that. You need to submit all that to the authority. You need to collect all the approval, and you need to file that in a specific order because there are guidelines that explain which document need to exist and need to file in which category. So the clinical trial assistant do that. So it's typically people with a bachelor degree, either in science or also sometime in high administrative profile, but who have knowledge in science and who like to manage documentation, who would like to organize and manage the documentation. They also develop some of the documents, some of the forms, and then collect the forms when they are complete and organize all what is called the clinical trial master file. When it's big study, one CRA cannot coordinate everything. So it's possible that if the study is big, you have different CRAs looking at different center or different countries, and then you have someone who is doing the coordination. And that's typically the role of project manager. They can be called project manager or study manager, it depends. But the role of the project manager, it's really to manage the study or the project at a higher level. They will be responsible of the budget. They will be responsible of the timelines. They will be responsible of the planning, and they will work with the CRA to make sure all activity happen at the right time, within the right budget, and with the right quality. Project management, usually it's not accessible as junior because you need either to have work as a CRA or have experience in clinical research, another type of job, and have sometimes certification in project management or also specific training in project management. Then in company, if I continue and I go to study startup and clinical regulatory, um, they are also sometimes specific. The CRA, either they do all the activity, either they are concentrated only on the beginning and the preparation. And some company, they have specific unit called study startup unit, where people working in study startup unit only prepare the beginning of the study. So they are there to prepare the study, to prepare the start, and also prepare the documentation, and they focus only on that. So you could have also equivalent to the CRA type of profile. You could have also profile that work only on study startup. And I said every clinical trial is submitted to the authority to have the approval before to start the trial. And there is also specific documentation to do there. So depending on the country, there is specific application form to do to the authorities, specific regulatory affair database to complete. So there are also sometimes units that do only what is called the clinical trial application and its role in clinical regulatory affairs. And it can be also a specific job. So some company organize their team and they have people doing only the clinical trial application to the authorities. So you could have also clinical trial application specialist or clinical regulatory affair manager or associate or that type of position. Those jobs that I explained are at the sponsor site, meaning the company which developed the drug can be the sponsor or can be a CRO. So it's a company working on behalf of the sponsor to organize that. But the clinical study is done usually at hospital with a doctor at the hospital responsible of the study. And that doctor is called the investigator. And at the hospital, the doctor, the investigator, who will really see the patient, recruit the patient, and administer the drug, is also helped by a team. And so you have also job opportunity there. So usually there is a study nurse. So it's a nurse by degree, but her role is to work with the investigator to coordinate the clinical study. But then you need to have a nurse degree. But you have also quite often a role of study coordinator that can be done by function which are not necessarily nurse or medic. And the study coordinator, it's really a function that will coordinate the patient visits. So they will organize the patient visit at the hospital, they will explain the study to the patient, and they will coordinate the clinical study, but at the hospital. The CRA is working at the sponsor site or at the pharma company or at the CRO site. The study coordinator will work at the hospital site, but they will really work together. I said also several times that the safety is really something important. So through all the flow of a clinical study, the safety is really monitored. So there are specific functions that look only at the safety data. And you have there also specific role, which are drug safety officer or pharmacovigilance associate, which are function where the role is only to collect the adverse events that are happening in a clinical study and to analyze that and to develop safety report for the authority. In terms of wording, we talk about drug safety during the clinical development of the product. And once the product is on the market, we talk about pharmacovigilance. But the type of job is the same. It's just, it's not at the same moment in the course of the drug development. And then you have also a lot of data collects in clinical research. And so you have usually big data management department where you have also several accessible functions. And one well-known function, it's a role of data manager. The role of the data manager is really the one who receive all the study, all the data collect during the study, analyze those data, clean those data because sometimes there are mistakes. So you need to exchange with the site to request some correction. And then they prepare really the database. And after, it's a statistician who will do the statistical analysis and then the medical writer who will write the report. You have also the function of data manager that is accessible also for more junior profile. So here on this slide, you see the role of CTA, CRA, study startup specialist, clinical regulatory affair, study coordinator, data manager, drug safety or pharmacovigilance associate are potential job in clinical research when you want to enter that field. This is a slide to explain the role of the CRA through all the study, because the CRA is really a function that will be active in all study phase. They will be active in the preparation of the study. So when they look at all the feasibility aspects, so they will be involved to see, is the study put on the paper something feasible? So that's the feasibility. They will be involved in selecting the hospital and the site where the clinical study will take place. They will go and do pre-visit to those sites, and they will train the personnel over there. They will initiate the site. And then once the study is ongoing, they will go regularly to monitor the site. So that's one of the essence of the CRA. It's to go and do monitoring. So they will compare the study documentation on site versus the data entered in the database, and they will make sure that is done according to the protocol, according to the process, according to the guidelines and the legislation. So that's really the essence of the CRA. Organize the study and go on site to do monitoring. And every time they go, they do a report with what they have seen, and they do that until the study is finished, and then they close the site. So that was the explanation of the flow of drug development and clinical research and the different jobs. Now, for you who attend this webinar, I suppose it's because you would like to enter in clinical research and you would like to know what type of job. So the advice we give you is that first, depending on your background, depending on your degree, you need to know a bit what you want to do. So you need to understand those jobs, and so be able also to identify what type of job do you want to do in short term, mid-term, and long term. Do you want to work in big company or do you want to work in small company? Do you want also go and work maybe at the hospital? Do you have a profile where you like a lot the communication and coordinate people, typically the CRA profile? Or do you prefer to work on data, on computer, do programming? Then maybe it's more data management. So you have a bit to know yourself, know what you want to do before to start your search. You will need also to acquire competency, and that's where it starts to be tricky because you have your degree, you may attend some training, but most of the company will ask that you have experience. They will ask you to have some expertise, some experience, to have some skills, and also to have some soft skills. So depending on the job, you need a lot of communication skills or coordination or also managing a conflict or discussing issue. So you'll need to develop that set of competency before you can apply to clinical research. We understand that it's not always easy and that sometimes you have your degree, but you're a bit lost. So ECCRT has a service of career launch coaching. So it's really a coaching, individual coaching for people who would like to start a career in clinical research, but they are a bit lost and they don't know how to do it. So they can work with the coach having experience in clinical research to help them really to launch and start their career, apply, prepare for interview, identify really what they want to do, and support them in that development. But we do also realize that there is a gap when we discuss with pharma company. They tell us that there is a lot of people with degree but no experience, or the pharma company are looking for people with experience. So we have put in place a program which is called the Junior Clinical Research Star Program to help you to, in addition to your degree that you have already, attend some training necessary to work in clinical research, like the CRA training and ICA-GCP training, for example, and then acquire experience on the job by doing internship. That's the program we have developed. And maybe what I will do here, we have several people who have joined the program, and I would like you to listen to the testimony of one or two participants that have joined the Junior Clinical Research STAR program. So those were two participants who joined our program, and I will explain you a bit more about this program. So our Junior Clinical Research Star program is a one-year program. So first you have theoretical training, 1 week, so you have 6 modules. Some are e-learning and some are face-to-face classroom. And you have a training on introduction to clinical research, regulatory requirements, the different role and responsibility, different jobs, so that you know also which one you would like to do your internship. You have a module on ICA-GCP, which is the good clinical practice. And you have then also a test and a certificate. And you have a 2 days training on CRA job, also really practical with test at the end, and you have a communication skills training. So you have all those training in 1 week. For some, you have test, and then you have certificate that you can also use to put on your CV or your LinkedIn profile. And that training is complete by 1 year internship where you really learn the job by doing the job. And that internship is a rotation between 3 different locations. First 2 months in an hospital where you join a research team and you observe how a clinical study is done at the hospital. Then you join a pharmaceutical company for 6 months, and where you really learn the clinical study and the job of the CRA working for the pharmaceutical company. And then the last internship is in a contract research organization. Contract research organization or CRO are company that do all the clinical development and all the operational aspect of the clinical research on behalf of the sponsor. So the sponsor is the one who developed the molecule, the drug, and he can maybe do the whole clinical research or ask a CRO to do the clinical operation and the practical aspect of the clinical research. So the last internship is at one of those CRO. The program is 1 year. At the end, you have a detailed certificate to show all the training you have done and all the internship you have done. We run that session 3 times per year. In July in Brussels, in September in Brussels, and in December in Leiden in the Netherlands. It means that the 1 week training is happening 3 times a year. And once you have completed your 1 week training, you can start the internship. We take 6 to 10 candidates per session, so it's small training because it's really interactive and because we want also to provide a good follow-up for the different participants. If you are interested by the program, we can have a discussion about it because I know you may have several questions about the program. So you can go on our website, and if you fill the application form, and this is really without obligation, then you will be called for a call, a call with your mentor, and it's only after that that you can decide to register to the program. Or you can also ask to have a conversation with us and we can go into more detail about your situation. I forgot to mention that the internship, we search the internship depending on your location. So to do the job of a CRA, it's important that you speak English and you speak one of the local language in the country where you are or in the country where you want to do your internship. And so based on your location, based on the language you speak, we then search with you the different possibility for the internship at the hospital, at the pharma company, and at the CRO. If some of you would like to have a one-to-one discussion after this call or next week about your particular situation, you can also let us know. So I put the question now on the screen. So if you would like a one-on-one discussion with us, either you tick yes. If you don't know, you tick maybe, and we can follow up later. Or if you don't want a discussion, you tick no. So I'll ask you to answer that for those who would like to have a follow-up discussion after this call in the next days. So I give you a couple of minutes. So the purpose of this question is really to know who would like an individual follow-up based on this presentation to address any of your question. I will, of course, allow also time at the end of this session to take some of your question, of course. But this is more for those who wish to have an individual discussion to discuss your specific case. Okay, I will go to the next slide. So for those of you searching for a job, where to start? That's the point. So first, based on your degree, and consider your profile. consider which type of profile you have, consider the competency you have already, and then try to identify the job you would like to do. Don't aim too high. Aim to have job where it's possible to enter with a junior or starter profile. Consider also the type of organization you want to go. Do you want to go in big company or do you want to go in small company? Because the type of job is different. In big company, you have huge volume of activity, and so the job are really organized by function. In small company, maybe you will be involved doing several type of activity because you have to do 2 or 3 type of activity at the same time if the company is small. So reflect a bit on that. Do you want to work at the hospital to coordinate a study, or do you want to work with the pharma company who developed the drug, or do you want to go more in CRO, contract research organization, who are working for several projects? And then also consider all those possibilities. And based on that, network. So create a LinkedIn profile where you are clear on your profile, your skills, your competency, your expertise, and start to use the LinkedIn app to search job. There is really a lot of job posted on LinkedIn. So based on the different function name I have mentioned before, search data manager, clinical research associate, clinical trial application, all that. Go also on some specific websites. So I put here some farmiweb.job, Eurofarm job, new scientist job. So go also on those websites and see the type of position and job that are accessible, where there is accessible for junior profile, or depending also on your experience. So that's what we really advise you. And right after I see that there are some questions. So right after I will go in the chat and take the question also one by one. We would like to also know, before going to the question, if this type of session is useful for you, if it's the type of information you are looking for. So it's important also for us that you tell us if it's useful or what type of other information you'd like to know, so that we can continue to adapt our webinar. So I'll ask you to vote also and to tell us a bit your feedback about the session. And for those who put moderately agree, it's also important that you put maybe in the chat what you would have liked to hear or see covered, so that we can take it into account to improve for next time. It's really important for us. Continuous improvement. It's one of the important element we focus on. Okay. Then if you have, I'll take the question for this call, but if after you have any question, you can follow us. So we are quite active in posting information about training, about module, about news. So you can follow us on LinkedIn. You can follow us on our page. You can go to our website, to our catalog. So, and if you have any question, you can contact us by mail at info@eccrt.com. Okay. And I will now take all the questions that I see in the chat. Okay. Let me check.
Yeah, there were some questions about the STAR program, Virginie.
Yes.
One of them was, in which countries do you provide internships? And then the next question of the same person is in Portugal.
Yes.
So maybe you can address that one, and then there's another one.
Yeah, and there is another one also about India, right?
Exactly, yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm checking all the. Yeah. Okay. So the internship, we are for the moment we have contact in several countries in Europe. So we have internship and we have company with which we organize internship in Belgium, in the Netherlands, in France, Italy, Switzerland, Spain, Germany, and for the other country, the way we are also starting connection in Dubai. But for the other country, what we do is that once we have a participant, we work really with the participant to identify internship where he lives. So there is also, we do not have currently internship available in India. But people who are in India, then we have a conversation to see in which city are you, what are the big company around you, and we explore possibility for internship there. Portugal, we have several participants for Portugal, which is quite easy because it's Europe. And then either we look for internship in Portugal, either those people are mobile and they can also, if they can travel in Europe, come and do the internship in another country. So we have different people from Portugal doing for the moment internship in Netherlands, in Belgium, depending on where they want to go. The important element to select the internship first is to have a visa that allow you to go in the country or to be and work in the country, to speak English, of course, and to speak the local language. Because to do an internship as a CRA, you need to speak the local language in the country where you do the internship. So that's a bit how we organize the internship search. So it's really à la carte, depending on the participant, and it's a joint effort between the participant and us. Either we have a list of internship available and then we connect the participant, either we look specifically for internship in the area of the participant. But then in that later case, we also engage you in that search process because it's also a way for you to learn to identify where clinical trials are happening, to search for the company around your place. So it's also a process where you develop skills to find also job opportunities, internship, or future job opportunities. What about Sweden? So it's interesting because we have a candidate for the moment in Sweden, and so we know there are big research hospital in Sweden. So we are currently in contact with different organizations for internship in Sweden. So we see, but it's also a big country, so it depends also where you live, and depending on that, we can evaluate with you where we have internship. Okay, so there is a next question. I'm working as project manager for a US company and working remotely. Do you have remote opportunity? I will say it depends, but in general, most of the time there is, for you to learn the job, it's important to go on site. So you may not have to do full time on site to do the internship, but at least it's important to be able to go at the hospital, at the pharma company, or at the CRO on site to learn. So the internship can be partially remote, but we do not recommend to have fully remote internship. Of course, it happened. We had some case, especially with the COVID situation, everybody went remote. So it's possible, but it's less frequent. Still, the hospital or the company like to have the intern 1 or 2 days a week at the office to learn. Internship in Australia, we don't have yet internship location in Australia. So that we don't have right away internship available in Australia, but there are pharma company established in Australia. So we are also open to have that discussion with you, depending on where you are located and your mobility within the country. I see also that you are a doctor, work on site as well with the CRO. I'm not sure I understand the question. So is the question on whether medical doctor can work with CRO? If it's that, the answer is yes. So if people who have a medical doctor background, they can also orient themselves for sure in clinical research. If they have a medical doctor, they can use that background working as a study physician or study physician responsible of the study, or also work at hospital as investigator. But if the question is, are there opportunity for medical doctor to work at CRO? The answer is yes, because CRO do organize project and they need to have medical doctor, they need to have statisticians. So if you are a medical doctor profile, you can certainly find position in a contract research organization. Yes. Are there other questions? We still have 5 minutes, so you can put your question in the chat. That will be more easy, maybe.
There was a question that was raised, Virginie. I received a
Yes.
message. Which companies do we provide for the internships? Can you explain a bit more about this, please?
Okay. So search for internship also in Berlin, in Germany. So the way we work, we have collaboration with several big hospital and companies, and every time we have a new participant, we contact in those company to see do they have internship opportunity for CRA. Um, I will not disclose an extensive list of all our company, but we are working with big companies as Johnson and Johnson, Bayer, MSD, GSK. So we have intern in different type of company. Those big company, we have also smaller company in Belgium. We have also research hospital in Belgium and elsewhere. We have big CROs. So people at Icon, at Parexel. So it depends. It's quite broad and it evolves every time. Internship in Germany as CRA and trial assistant. So to Joao, we don't have a fixed list where we provide internship. We do have company with which we work mainly in Europe and also outside of Europe, but the list is not fixed in the sense that we evaluate also the situation with you where you are located, and if we see it's feasible, we can also search internship for you in your country. But we have most of our experience is within Europe. And for Germany, we have internship. We had people doing internship in Germany um, as CRA or as clinical trial assistant. And then it depends where you are located in Germany. It depends also if you have a work permit in Germany, if you speak German, because it's one of the conditions. But we had case of people doing the internship in Germany, certainly. We have also in Switzerland, in the French-speaking part, in the German-speaking part of Switzerland. So Pakistan, we don't have for the moment. So we do not have internship for the moment in Pakistan, neither in India, neither in Australia. We have mainly Europe. We have also Sweden. We have Dubai. So that's a bit the country where we are active for the moment, but it evolves also depending on the profile of the student. So for case by case situation, I guess it's better maybe to have a call. So let us know. You have answered already the question, but we can have a individual discussion also about your question and your situation, your degree, your background, the language you speak, your skills, if you are mobile or not, the type of visa you have, all that is taken into consideration to search the internship. Um, so don't hesitate to come back to us. So either to myself or my colleague André, who is really heavily involved with me in the Junior Clinical Research Star program. You can contact us, go on our website, send email at info@eccrt.com. For those who have mentioned that you would like to have more information or have a discussion, we will go back to you to have that discussion with you. For the other, don't hesitate to come back anytime. And with that, if there is no more question, we would like to thank you for your attention. It's important for us to have you because it's contribute to develop the clinical research community. So it's really important. So we thank you for your interest and we hope to see you in one of our next webinar or maybe on the Junior Clinical Research Star program. So the next edition is in September in Belgium, the 25th of September. And the next one will be December in the Netherlands. So for that, we ask you to come over to Belgium to follow the training in Belgium or in the Netherlands. And after, we can start the internship depending on where you are located. But the training will be in Belgium and or in the Netherlands. So I would like to wish you a great day and a lot of success in your career and your development in clinical research.